I almost went to this game today. God, I'm glad I didn't go to this game today. I I was trying to get tickets to this game because the credential deadline was Friday, and I didn't know what time this game was going to be. If I had known this game was going to be at 4 and we were going to have the radio show earlier, I would have gone. I would have got a credential, and I would have gone as a fan today had I been able to find a friend to go with me. But everyone made plans to go to the game before I knew the work schedule. It doesn't matter. I'm so glad I didn't go to this game. I was texting intern Austin at like 1:30 this afternoon. I was like, dude, tickets are so cheap. Like, do you want to drive? He goes to school at Whitewater. I'm like, do you want to drive up and go to this game? Thank God we decided against it. The Brewers lose. What was the final score? The Brewers lose 8-4. We're reacting live. Whatever. I'm just organizing some tweets and things that I had saved in front of me. If you want to join the show, by the way, we're going to react for about a half hour. I want to be done a little before 8. I have plans. They're video game plans that I was really tempted to just start now instead of doing this. But I kind of promised on the radio show that I would do this. And if I wouldn't have done it, people would have been mad. Mostly Cone and Tony in Texas would have been up my butt. So if you want to join the show, I can DM you on Twitter. Maybe I don't have Facebook open, but if you really want to join, I DM you the link. But I don't want to turn this into like a half-hour grab-ass sesh. Like if you have something specific to say about this game or you were at the game, I'll send you the link or I'll try my best. But we can't get like 10 people in here and just turn it into a big grab-ass session. That's not what I want to do. Brewers lose, and it was the exact same game as game 1 last year to the Diamondbacks. Not that different of an opponent either. In fact, this loss might be worse because the Diamondbacks were very good. That team made the World Series. And I guess the Mets could, because baseball is weird, but this Mets team is not good. I don't think there's a world in which this Mets team goes on a run and we're all like, oh, the Mets were, I don't know why we didn't see it, but the Mets are actually a pretty good team. Like with the Diamondbacks, because their pitching got a little hot last year, you can look at the offense and be like, okay, that's a legit offense. I could see why they went on a run. That's a good team that we underestimated. I'm not going to say that about the fucking Mets. This team isn't any good. Like they had Jesse Winker DHing. Like we had Jake Bauers DHing. So I don't know. Maybe the Brewers aren't any good either, but it's just so bad. It's so bad to lose the exact same way 2 years in a row. And it's an embarrassing way to lose, right? Your offense jumps out, gets you a lead, pitching blows it. The offense gets the lead back, pitching and defense, I would argue, blew it. And then the offense just gives up. I could have this wrong. I marked this down in the 9th inning as I was getting ready for the show. They had 11 base runners in the first 4 innings. And then from innings 5 to 9, they had 0. They didn't get a last-second base runner in the 9th inning, did they? Let me look at Kurt's tweet here. I would assume that Kurt or Todd or Hunter, somebody tweeted it out at the end. How many straight Brewers were retired to end the game? 17 straight. That's excellent. That's good. The Brewers are lucky they don't get more attention nationally, because if they did, they'd be a lot more embarrassed because people would be making fun of them. Luckily, no one really cares about them nationally. They got a little national love on a national broadcast, and it was nice to have what felt like a 20-minute interview with Christian Yelich. It's fine. I like Yelich. I like Christian. I'm kind of anti in-game interviews just because I don't really think they're all that additive. The tech always goes wrong, and it's like a bad phone call where neither party can hear each other and they're going back and forth. And so I'm just kind of anti in-game interviews. Side note, but back to my original point about like national coverage. If this team got any national coverage, and most smaller town baseball teams don't, like the Royals don't. It's not just the Brewers. I'm not playing victim here, small market victim. And by the way, this isn't the series or the loss to play small market victim. I saw so many people on Twitter where it's like, man, Mark won't pay for a real team, and this is what he gets. The Mets aren't a real team. If they were losing to the Dodgers or the Phillies, sure. Oh my God, wouldn't you guys all kill to lose to the Dodgers or the Phillies? At least then we'd have an excuse. Like, what's the excuse to lose to the Mets? And like, look, Francisco Lindor is awesome. And I actually think David Stearns has done a really good job, and they deserve credit for turning it around after a really bad first month. But like, you guys can't pull the Mark Attanasio shit after losing to this team. And I say you guys, I am of I am a Brewers fan, but this is not the matchup. This is not the series to be like, oh, we don't pay for players. Man, Brewers had some good players out there tonight. They just didn't make plays. All right. Yeah, some comments here. Cover first base, typical Brewers. Yep. Okay. Why did we pull Freddie? So this is I saw a lot of this stuff. So like I saw a lot of council comps with Freddie Peralta getting pulled. I saw Eric here saying, why did we pull Freddie as he was settling in? Man, if you think Freddie was settling in, or if you think he was rolling, as I saw a lot of people saying on Twitter, like I guess you're just a more optimistic fan. I guess you just watched Freddie Peralta and had a different point of view than me. I wanted his ass pulled in the second. I wanted him out of that game as soon as tactically possible. This is a 3-game series. If you win game 1, especially with the way that the Mets had to play a doubleheader yesterday, they did. The team played 2 games yesterday. Traveled Sunday, played a doubleheader yesterday, traveled again. If you beat that team in game 1, I'm not saying it's over, but God, you feel great going into game 2. I'm not saying that the Mets would quit or they'd give up, but I mean, human nature starts to settle in. It's the same with Packers-Vikings on Sunday. Like, I'm not saying the Vikings took their foot off the gas. I mean, it's human nature. You're up multiple touchdowns. You're going to relax a little bit. And if the Brewers would have been able to win tonight, like is their motto, win tonight, you feel really good about your chances tomorrow. Again, I'm not saying the Mets would quit, but human nature would dictate you'd feel good about your chances tomorrow. So why? I don't know why everyone's really, I honestly don't know why people are bent out of shape about Peralta. I think it's a coping mechanism. I think it's a sports talk thing. What do we talk about on sports talk radio in the summer when baseball comes up? Why'd you pull the starting pitcher? Analytics ruined everything. Why are you? And like sometimes, sure, I'd like to see a starter go longer. Freddie not continuing into this game was not their problem. Yoel Payamps got an assist from Chourio. Chourio pulled back a home run and it really botched the next play. But I tweeted, and my thoughts aren't quite as organized as they would be for a normal radio show. But I tweeted, I'm just going to read it because I was proud of this tweet. I'm not proud of many of my tweets, but I said, I'm absolutely not letting this become a management or analytics discussion. I didn't love Murph's choices, and I didn't. I said, but if these bums ever want to win a playoff game, they need to throw strikes and field their positions. Brewers fans, if you make this a Murphy thing, if you make this an analytics thing, if you make this about pulling pitchers early coming out of this game, you're letting the players off the hook. You making the number one story of this game, Murphy pulled his guy too soon. Analytics is running. If that's what we talk about coming out of this game, you're letting the players off the hook. You're letting Yoel Payamps off the hook for 1, pitching like shit because he did, and 2, not covering first base. Chourio missed the ball in left field, and he probably deserves some flack for that. He does deserve some flack for that. The thing about Chourio is he batted in a run earlier, and he pulled back a home run. So I'm like, okay, well, if we're ranking players that I'm upset at, Chourio's farther down the list than Yoel Payamps for not covering first. Yeah, I didn't love Aaron Ashby in that spot because I still think of Aaron Ashby as a starter at heart who is being utilized in a reliever role. I don't want that guy coming in with guys on base, right? That's not the spot where I'd pitch him, but he's been good. Let's not act like Aaron Ashby has been bad. That was as bad as he looked. That looked like April Aaron Ashby. That looked like post shoulder surgery Aaron Ashby. So I think that's my number one takeaway from this game. Don't make it about Murphy pulling Peralta. Could he have let Peralta? The difference was Peralta probably would have faced 2 more batters, and he probably would have come out with 2 outs in the 5th, assuming he got those batters, before he had a chance to see the order a 3rd time. That's realistically the alternative, is he faces 2 more batters. Would that have solved this? Would that have fixed this? Would that have prevented the Brewers from melting down and failing to make plays and completely shutting off offensively? No. I think we glom on to managers pulling starting pitchers because it's what the media hits us over the head with. And I don't mean to act like, well, on the Wisco Sports Show, we engage in smart baseball talk. We don't follow the lazy narratives and the lazy talking points. Like, no, I do lazy talking points on the show too, but I just think so often in sports talk radio in Wisconsin, what I hear is, pretty surface level conversations about baseball, which is fine. Not everyone loves to talk about batted average on ball in play or WRC plus. I don't even like most of that stuff sometimes, but not most of the time. The big talking points during baseball season are normally about, should the manager have pulled this starter? And it's like one of those sports radio topics that's never going to die, because old school baseball fans are going to get mad about it. New school baseball fans are going to say, well, the statistics, and it's on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And that conversation can be fun in small spurts, because I like the sucker sports radio topics. Like I like that stuff. That's fine in July. Not what this game was about. This game was about a group of players who didn't come ready to play, who didn't come ready to execute when the lights were the brightest in a game that you absolutely had to win. And then the second the game went south, threw in the towel, completely gave up. Well, Grant, that's not fair. You can't question the player's heart. Okay. Well, okay, let's just look at the evidence then. The first 4 innings, they had 11 base runners. They're taking walks. They were working deep into counts. They were doing all of the things, and we've talked about this all season long. They were doing all of the things that the Brewers do when they're playing well. When Pat Murphy is really leading this team the way that he wants to lead this team, and his message is landing, and the Brewers are playing their best version of ball, that's the type of ball that they're playing. They're working into counts. They're scrapping to find ways to get on base. They're turning singles into doubles and doubles into triples, which is all Glanville could talk about on the broadcast, which is fine. It's not even a criticism of the broadcast. It got mentioned a lot, right? Stretching a single into a double, getting from first to third on, I think some of those talking points are a little lazy, because this Brewers team also can hit home runs, and they're good at a lot of other things. They're not just small ball merchants, but when they're playing their best version of baseball, they're doing a lot of those things. And for the first couple innings, again, this is data. This isn't me questioning players' heart or mettle. It's the data. They had 11 base runners in the first 4 innings and none in innings 5 through 9. When their bullpen and their defense melted down in that 5th inning, and I'm not putting, or was it the 4th inning? The 4th inning, whatever inning it was. I don't care. I can pull up the play-by-play. I don't want to. Whatever inning they melted down, they came back the next inning, and the offense completely threw in the towel. And I'm not saying that 4-run comebacks happen all the time. It's an unlikely position from which to come back, but it's not unheard of. For Christ's sake, they came back from 8 down against the Diamondbacks a little more than a week ago. Diamondbacks, a much better team. And that's the frustrating thread that connects everything in this game, is the Mets aren't good. The Mets aren't good. The Dodgers are good. The Phillies are good. The Diamondbacks are good. I think the Braves on some level are good. The Mets, again, are this last playoff team to get in, and they're playing with moxie. They're playing with energy. And Freddie Peralta early let them have that moxie and energy. And then the bullpen and the defense during the Mets' second rally gave them more energy and moxie. That was one thing you couldn't have happen tonight. This team, I think you could break the Mets very quickly. If you jump down to a big lead, they played a doubleheader yesterday. We watched it yesterday. We were all glued to our TV. Remember that yesterday? They were playing baseball yesterday. They played 2 games yesterday, and they were in Milwaukee on Sunday. That team then had to come back to Milwaukee. If you put them in a huge hole early, I don't know. Maybe they have enough mettle to battle back and to put together a solid effort in game 2 or to fight back from an early deficit. But that's just not how human nature works. This to me is not about Pat Murphy pulling Freddie Peralta. This has nothing to do with analytics or the nerds or the stats. This is Pat Murphy deciding, I like my bullpen. I'm going to put them in the game. And if those pitchers and defenders had simply made routine plays I've seen them make hundreds of times throughout the season, then that inning never happens. And we're not talking about Freddie Peralta getting pulled. And I think if we put this on Murphy, who, tactically, I don't like all of his decisions. I don't think he's the tactician the council is. We've talked about that all year. But again, I don't like everything that Murphy does, but that was not on him. And making it about him and making it an obnoxious, overplayed, over-discussed analytics thing, you're letting the players off the hook. And the players weren't ready. The players were not ready for the bright lights. They were not ready to make important plays in a must-win game. They were not ready to do the things that are necessary to do to win a playoff game. And I guess we shouldn't be surprised. We've been seeing a lot of this going back to 2019 when you can't field a ground ball in right field when you have a lead. And last year, all of the things that went wrong against the Diamondbacks, it's just really disappointing. And then they quit. As soon as the Mets jumped out to a big lead, they quit. Well, you can't question their heart. I can, because I have the data. I have the information in front of me. They had 0 base runners in the last 4 or 5 innings of that game. 4 or 5, it doesn't matter. Both are damning stats. It's 4 or 5 innings again. Let's see. Again, if you want to join the show, I can try to send some of you a link. I don't just want to turn this into a grab ass session. First to 2, not the first to 1. Okay, look, if you all think they're winning tomorrow and this is going 3, all right. okay. I don't know why you would think that after watching the team tonight. They quit after the fourth inning. You think they're showing up tomorrow? I hope they do. I hope they do. And I hope I'm wrong, but I've been watching this team long enough. We've seen this movie in the playoffs before. I'm used to doing the radio show. I almost just read the phone number. Can't call. But actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to check my DMs to make sure if anyone wants to join. This is going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult to let people get in here to go back and forth and to have a discussion just because of the way that this is set up. I don't know. Let me drop a link in here if anyone wants to join. It's kind of embarrassing. It's one thing if you go back and forth and the Mets the Mets caught fire and they repeatedly scored and this was a back and forth game. The Brewers were not ready to make plays necessary to win a playoff game. And then when it went south, they threw in the towel. And it's disheartening. It's really embarrassing. And like, if we're calling a spade, kind of against everything that this team is supposed to stand for. And maybe, that, as Tim Allen would say, he does the baseball postgame show, maybe it's bumper sticker and t-shirt stuff. Undaunted. But isn't that supposed to be kind of the way that this team wins? Is they're never out of it. They're never done. They never quit. They're always battling. They are undaunted. Isn't that supposed to be what they're about? It's really, really disappointing. So you have undaunted, brewed for battle. They were absolutely not brewed for battle last year. In fact, I couldn't even remember what their playoff slogan was last year. I had to look it up right before we started the show. Claws up. How could we ever forget claws up? How could we absolutely ever forget claws up? You never forget that. Twitter friend and caller to the show, Cone Roller, is here. Let's get Cone in here. Hold on. This isn't that hard. Cone, are you there?
Yeah, you got me.
Cone,
you got me, Grant.
I gotta unmute. That's me. Hey, Cone, I should be able to hear you now.
Perfect.
What do you think?
I agree with you. I don't think this loss needs to go on Murphy. Has Freddie earned the term ace this year at all to give him this leeway? I mean, we've seen him blow up countless times. No surprise he was on a short leash. I don't blame Murphy for pulling him at all. But I think that turned the game, clearly. Putting Payamps in, defense broke down. I mean, spring training level.
Did I lose you for a sec, Cone?
It's elementary execution, and that was just embarrassing. The team quit, and the series is over, effectively.
It certainly feels that way. And they could win tomorrow. They could come back and win. I don't want to be that defeatist fan, but I also, I do push back a little bit when I see different members of the media on Twitter who are like, guys, it's not done. Last time I checked, it's a 3-game series. Don't tell Brewers fans how to fan. They weren't born yesterday. Don't piss on their head and tell them that it's raining. You know what I mean? Don't fault Brewers fans for being negative about this team and wanting to criticize this team right now.
Yeah. And it feels identical to last year. I mean, maybe worse, but
I think worse because the Mets are worse. The Diamondbacks are like, okay, that's a real offense, and they got hot. The Mets are just some plucky team with good vibes that aren't really afraid of anything. This Brewers team kind of pooped down their leg today.
Oh, absolutely. And
did I lose you, Cone, or is the connection bad on my end? It might be bad on my end.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I gotcha. You have one last thing you want to say? I think it cut out.
Yeah, just for people that are complaining about the playoff series, I get it. It sucks to play 8 months to only have 3 guaranteed games, or 2 guaranteed games. But to get through that, all you need to do is win. The Brewers just cannot win in the playoffs, and I don't know if we'll ever see it in our lifetime.
It doesn't feel like it right now. Cone, I'm going to move along just because I want to keep it going. We can talk more on the show tomorrow or at some point this week. And Cone is mad because I cut his call short on Monday. I'm sorry again about that, Cone. Look, I'm not going to blame Brewers fans for feeling negative and feeling down on this team. I will not tolerate victimhood right now from Brewers fans in 2 different ways. Some victim way, our team sucks and we're mad about it and it does feel like we're a cursed fan base. In a broad sense, I will accept victimhood. 2 specific forms of victimhood I will not accept. I will not accept Mark is cheap and that's why we're losing. That's not the Mets. This is not the Dodgers. This is not the Phillies. I would love to lose to the Dodgers. Oh my God, take me back to 2018. Take me back to 2020 for a million reasons. Actually, weirdly, other than the deaths and the sickness, I miss the pandemic. Life seems so much easier. But it's like I would love to lose to the Phillies or the Dodgers. This is not about Mark. So don't make it a small market victimhood thing. There are times where you can play the small market victim card. This is not one of them. And I also don't want to hear the structure of baseball is dumb. The scheduling is dumb. You play 162 games, and then your season can be done in a span of 36 hours. Okay, well then win. Then the team should win some games. That's not baseball's fault. Every other team is seemingly figuring it out. The Diamondbacks have figured it out. The Braves have figured it out. The Dodgers have figured it out. The Mets, if they win the series, will have figured it out. So don't blame baseball for the format. The Brewers have gotten in as a wild card. They've hosted games. Like, they didn't have a long layoff. They played on Sunday. So this is not, don't make excuses with the scheduling. Well, it's stupid. You play 162 games. Okay, well, what do you want? Do you want the playoff series to be 25 games long? Because that's not going to happen. Don't blame the Brewers' failures to win games on the structure of baseball. That's not fair. Corey is here. Corey, are you at the game? Are you there? Are you in a basement? Where are you?
I'm in my backyard.
Oh, hell yeah.
So,
sweet.
Yeah,
I need to go for a walk outside after this is done. So I
watched the game out here. We have a patio with a projector and like an overhang, and it's pretty sweet back here. But yeah, I don't know. Just kind of just back here, just gonna continue just drinking, I think.
Staring into the abyss.
Yeah, probably. I'm gonna watch this this Padres Braves game and contemplate if one of these two teams should be like my new favorite one.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder, like, what is it with the Brewers? Okay, so the Brewers have this mentality of just get in and keep getting in, and one of the years it's going to be your year, right? Okay, like I think that's a good strategy. What I don't understand is every other team seemingly in the last 5 or 6 years has found a way for it to be their year, and the Brewers haven't figured it out yet. Like, other teams are beating the Brewers with the Brewers strategy.
Yeah, and then there was like we'll just coast in mentality, but I thought they played well against the Mets so that they're going to be hot, but I don't know. You come back and you got to face them again. And now basically a 3-game series turns into another heck on the other best of 3 after that.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat a team that many times, and they ran all over them early. I think that Murphy just is outthinking himself. I think he went right back to camp council and he thought that was going to work. He pulled Peralta early, and I mean, we kind of talked about this in our group chat, but just the fact that like you get a guy up and you get him ready to go, and if Peralta comes out and he's scuffling in the 5th, well then you pull the plug. But to go right to Pompous, like, what are we doing? Like, that's your ace. Ride him till the wheels come off.
So you can do that. I also think the Mets are beat up, and they're traveled, and they're worked hard.
And they're probably on little sleep.
Yeah, they're on little sleep. The Brewers are not. The Brewers are rested. They've had this thing lined up for a while, and you only got to win. Like, Cone brought this up on my show like a week or 2 ago. He's like, if you win, like, game 1 is a must win, because if you win game 1, like, life just gets so much easier for you. Like, you got to treat game 1 like a must win. So if the Brewers empty their bullpen as the fresher team, as the better rested team, they're pushing the advantage that the Mets don't have. I guess I would just rather go down with the bullpen as the fresher team. I think it was a coin flip. Like, you want to leave Peralta in? Fine. He was probably only to pitch to 2, maybe 3 more hitters anyways. The pitchers and the defenders still got to execute, and they just didn't. It was really disappointing.
I think if the plan, if Savali was there right off the get-go, and that was the plan, was to put him in the event that they go down and they just needed somebody to eat innings, why didn't they just put him in then in the 4th or the 5th rather?
Yeah. And that's the difficult part, Corey. Those are excellent contributions. I appreciate it. I just want to make sure if anyone else, we're not gonna be doing this all night. If anyone else wants a chance to get in here, thank you, Corey. Okay. Again, I think it's small potatoes. I think the handling of, what was it, the 4th inning? I should just pull up the freaking box score. It doesn't really matter that much, but it wouldn't be that hard for me to just pull it up, so I will. Like, if you want to leave Peralta in for 2 more hitters, fine. If you want to pull him and start the inning with Payams has been great. And Payams, I guess he gave up that line drive that would have been a home run, but then he gets the ground ball. Hoskins, who's their lesser of 2 defensive first basemen, makes a great play, and then Payams just stands there with his mouth open and doesn't cover first. Like, it's just, I don't know. it's really frustrating. So in any event, and Vagabond John is here. Vagabond, you are, I think, a fan of this take too. Like, the coaches can only do so much, man. Like, at the end of the day, the players have to be good and they have to make plays. I think that was the issue in the 4th inning. I think it was the 4th. I'm pulling it up now.
Players make plays, man. And our man Sal made a play.
Dude,
How about
Sal showed up. Bryce Terang showed up. If you'd have told me, hey, Terang gets 3 hits, Sal Frelick has a double, I'd be like, oh, we're winning this game. We're gonna rock the Mets. And that just obviously was not what happened.
So I'm sitting here with Thursday tickets in my cart. And I'm like, if I'm a real fan, I'm buying the tickets right now, right?
If you're a real fan, yeah, I suppose.
But I'm not going to, right? I'm not a real baseball fan. I came here because watching Brewers Twitter react during this game, for me, was as entertaining as this game. Because you're thinking about, like, they get the 2-run lead and people are just hyped. And then they give up the lead. And then they get the lead back. And then they collapse. Grant, you've made this point before. Brewers Twitter is the best. It's the best form of entertainment around this team. Would you agree?
I think Brewers Twitter is better than Packers Twitter. It's better than Bucks Twitter. I think it's the best. I think it's the absolute. I think they're hilarious, and they have to be hilarious. We all would have given up on this team long ago if we couldn't at least enjoy their failures for the purposes of content. Don't you think?
Absolutely. And I think, like, first of all, I wanted to get on here and get the cat, because, like, if you don't have a cat, this is what gets us through the nut kick continuum. I know Ebo's got a cat at home. You got to have a cat. The game ends. They hop on your lap. All of a sudden, you're happy again. So for all the Brewers fans just going crazy right now, get yourself something to calm down. It's like a stress ball, but it purs. So
my cat tried to eat the hot dogs. I'm an idiot. I bought hot dogs on my drive home from work at Quick Trip. I'm like, I'll get some buns. I'll get some hot dogs. A little tailgate. Like, that sounds good. I have a leftover onion the other night. Cut that up. Condiments. And as I'm making hot dogs, like, my cat just starts eating the bun straight through the bag. So I just spray him with the sink. And I wish we were similar. But
so look at us talking about cats. I'm drinking red wine. We're talking Brewers baseball. Dave from Manone is punching air right now. What do we got? Is that a THC cocktail?
Yeah, it's from Minnesota. Thanks, Tavern League.
Is it Fair State? they put out some good stuff.
North Higher Vibes.
So tomorrow, do we know who's starting yet? Have you talked about that?
I think Montas. Yeah. Well, Savali went tonight, so I would assume Montas or Myers. I think both are solid options. I guess I'd probably go Montas. Again, like, the guy who's out there needs to throw strikes, and the defense needs to get outs, and the offense can't give up after the 5th inning. You know what I mean?
Positives. Is Peralta even the best pitcher starting for this team throughout the course of the year?
Are you saying that this is silver lining? We just cleared the one starter who's not any good. But here's the thing. Like, we can't on one hand say, well, Freddie's not really that good. And then on the other hand say, well, why did Murphy pull him? Like, we can't, those two things can't coexist. I saw Brett Saladino World during the game tweeting, like, the people who've complained about Freddie Peralta and bitched and pissed and moaned all year about Peralta are now crying and screaming that Murphy pulled him probably effectively 2 batters before they wanted, because that's probably all the farther he was going to go.
Yeah, and I just think, like, the Brewers are a team that, to use a Dan Campbell analogy, right, we can drag them into the water and put their heads under. And I think this pitching staff, with the starting pitchers at least, you're going to drag this Mets team that's been an absolute joke of a franchise for decades now.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to drag them into a little bit of the deeper water, right? You're at Bradford Beach. You're a couple steps in. You're going to drag them a little deeper. Maybe the undertow's starting to hit, and you're just going to shove their head under the water with starting pitchers 2 and 3 that are just going to crush it. So that's my take. I'll let you get to the other listeners now, but I think the Brewers got this. Seeing Churio have a moment in his first game is freaking awesome. Seeing Sal have a moment's freaking awesome. It's time for a couple of the other guys to stop talking trash and start hitting the ball, and then we'll be right back on track.
So I think so. Vagabond John, cheers. Enjoy your wine and your cat. Some of the comments are just. Do you mean to say Cato killed himself, or is milled? Is that an expression? Like, I still don't know what Sigma means. I don't know what all those words. I like the brain rot videos are funny. I don't know what any of the words yet. I don't know what that means. Maybe milled is something. Back to our discussion on payroll. I said this is not the game where we can play like small market victim. Like, oh, if Mark would pay for a real team, then maybe we wouldn't have it. Okay, if they were playing the Dodgers, fine. If they were playing the Phillies, fine. This is not the game to cry poor small market. And this commenter of an anonymous name makes a good point. Like, yeah, Mets do have a huge payroll. They do, but a lot of that money is for players that aren't there anymore or players who aren't any good. Like this Mets team is not a team that has spent a bunch of money on this group to go win right now. Of course, New York is a bigger market, but geez, every market is bigger than Milwaukee. Every single one. Oh, Pittsburgh. Well, we don't have the money to compete with Pittsburgh. You know, market size. Pittsburgh's bigger. Like, no, we can't. I don't know. We can't do that. To reset the show a little bit, and I'm just going to go right back to my notes here to kind of reset things. We might have a guest join us before the show is done in a minute or two before I wrap it up from the ballpark. We'll see. I just don't think we can make this about Murphy. That's the hill that I'm going to die on the radio tomorrow. This cannot become a discussion of Murphy should have left Peralta in. First off, for multiple reasons. The first reason being Freddie wasn't that good tonight. If Freddie wants the privilege of pitching deep in a playoff game, and very few starting pitchers get that privilege in 2024. We can debate whether or not that's a good or a bad thing. But if Freddie wants the privilege of pitching deep into this game, then don't take 30 pitches and 3 full counts to trudge your way through the second inning after your offense. Like inspire, instill, inspire, give everyone else, Pat Murphy included, a reason to feel confident in you if you want to keep pitching. Okay, so that's reason number one. Like Freddie was not ruling. Freddie was not dialed in. Freddie was Freddie. That was the same Freddie that most of us, and I say us because I'm part of it, have bitched about all season long. Because he'll make some great pitches and then he'll follow up. He'll make 2 great pitches and then 4 awful ones. And the pitch count will go up and it'll be frustrating as hell to watch. And obviously he gives up runs. That was the miracle, is somehow he didn't give up a home run tonight, his token home run. Maybe it was because Churio pulled it back. Okay, so that's reason number one. Like, you can't be mad that Freddie Peralta was pulled because Freddie wasn't that good tonight. He hasn't been good all season. I think that's been well established. Let's not redefine our POV, our perspective of Freddie Peralta now, because it makes us feel better about explaining away this Brewers loss. That's reason number one. Reason number two is it lets the players off the hook. Brewers fans and Wisconsin sports talkers tomorrow, if they go on podcasts and platforms and like normally on the radio show, which we'll do at 4:00 tomorrow, like if we make this an analytics thing, oh, the nerds pulling starting pitchers early, you can't have it, you can't do it. If we make the discussion tomorrow about that, we are letting the players off the hook. We're letting Yoel Payamps off the hook for falling asleep on the mound when he's got to cover first, right? We're letting Jackson Churio to a degree off the hook for taking a bad route at that ball in the offense. If that was Sal Frelick, I would be killing him. If that was Garrett Mitchell, I'd be killing him, right? So Jackson Churio, although he's 20 and he drove in a run and he saved a run by pulling one back over the fence, yeah, he could have done a better job on that play. If Willie Adames' defense wouldn't have gone in the tank this season, maybe he ropes in that ball at short instead of kicking it around with the lip of his glove. Maybe it's better that he didn't get it in his glove, because I think if he had gotten in his glove, he probably would have threw it onto the friggin' loaded level, because that seems to be what he does. Like, he's a below average defender. He's harmed the Brewers with his defense this year. Those players did not make the requisite plays, and those pitchers didn't make the requisite pitches to actually win a play. Winning a playoff game is hard. If these Brewers players just think they can keep waltzing in every year and one of these years it's going to happen, like, that's not how it works. You guys got to go make the plays. You got to do the winning things. You got to do things that are required to go win a baseball game. And I guess that's my frustration. They're good players on this team. And they're players that played well tonight. Like, if you would have told me, where'd my box score go? I opened it up. Normally I had to be privileged radio guy. Normally I have like 2 screens for all these things. But if you would have told me Terang gets multiple hits, Churio gets a hit, Contreras has RBIs, like I would have really had a difficult time seeing before the game if you would have told me all those things, like how the Brewers end up losing. Okay. Kurt Hogue, I believe, is here, and I believe he can join us. I hope that he wouldn't have jumped in if he wasn't ready. I see him walking. Kurt, are you in the press box? Are you in the concourse?
Sorry for the bad connection. That's actually my phone. I cracked screen, but nevertheless, I'm in the hallway in the press box. Thanks, pal. So do you. You look happy. No, you don't. You look sad. That's a lie. I'm sorry. You don't look great. You don't look great.
It's the lighting. It's the lighting. Just to catch you up very briefly in 10 seconds, I just don't want to make this about Freddie Peralta getting pulled 2 batters early. I think that lets the players off the hook. I think that makes it about analytics and management. Guys had plays to make and they didn't make them.
Correct.
That's
Correct. You're absolutely correct. Look, you can debate that all day. In the moment, it felt like it was a reasonable decision. Yoel Payamps has been amazing, like not just good, amazing. The bullpen is the strength of this team. I said it on the microbrew pod a couple days ago.
Yes, you did.
Don't want any of these guys facing the order a third time through. I
No
completely
need.
stand by that. I mean, it's not like, look, we were 2 innings removed from that second inning from Freddie Peralta, which was not the biggest disaster of the night, but it was bad. It was you can't have that happen. So it's not exactly like we're talking about like prime Nolan Ryan here.
Yeah.
It feels like an easy out to just pin that on analytics. Now, granted, I mean, you can debate that all day. I'm fine debating it too, because I mean, it didn't work, and at the bottom of the order, maybe get him through for 3 more outs. But the Brewers ultimately played a playoff game that you have all come to know all too well. That's what it comes down to. They didn't cover first.
Why is that? Like, is it just brain farts? It's not like the lights are too bright. They were at home. They were rested.
I don't have an answer for you, Grant. And I have a column or I don't have a column, but analysis, some sort of story that may end up running tomorrow or the day after at this rate. And it kind of gets at the same thing. Like, there's still a game left. Like, the steam's not out of it. But at some point, you just wonder why they can't play not only the best baseball, but like a crisp game in the playoffs. We didn't see this from this team at all. We did not see this from this team at all. Not covering first base, that's what a Daunted team does. That's what the White Sox do.
That's the thing.
Not what the Brewers do.
I'm sure you know this. I'm sure this is a sports journalist thing more than it's a radio thing. Like, you're not supposed to question guys' heart, right? Because you don't know.
Right. I mean,
but
first, these guys. What's our thought on swearing here?
You can, sure.
These guys give a shit. They give. I don't want to say they give more of a shit than fans, because fans give a big shit. They give a different shit.
Yeah,
and it's a big one. They care a lot. So yeah, no, that's never the thing. It's just like, what is going on?
Well, the heart thing. Okay, brain fart plays like that happens. That's not necessarily related to heart, but like the offense, it just looked like they stopped trying. They stopped doing the deep counts, the hard at bats. They had no base runners. What, in innings 5 through 9? Just explain that.
I mean, I do think on offense, sometimes in the quality of play of things is where you can see a difference in like mentality. Like early on, it was great. Their at bats were great. The Mets pitchers, down the stretch, I thought were really lights out too. But it was a total 180 from what we saw earlier in the game, where I mean, like Bryce Turning was doing it all game, but it was that sort of at bat that kind of everyone was doing that pesky fight it off, live to see another pitch, stay alive, and that's what this team does best. And yeah, 17 up, 17 down is. I'm not going to say it's an effort thing, because it's not an effort thing, obviously, but it is when you have that many guys go down in a row against a pitcher that you've already hit and not their best relievers. There's an approach part of it too. It's not a great approach.
If you have 60 more seconds, what was the clubhouse like, and what does that tell us maybe about
I was like in the clubhouse as little as anyone, a little peek behind the curtain on these things. They bring the manager into the interview room, and they open the clubhouse around the exact same time. So we split it up a little. I stayed in there with Murph, and then went in just as Payamps was leaving, and just wanted to see if he could answer a quick question. He did. Good for him. He faced the music. Total pro. Got to give him credit there. But I don't know. I wasn't in there very long.
What did Murph have to say? I mean, we can go watch, but just your personal.
Yeah, I just tweeted out his quote on the Freddie thing. He had a lot to say about that. So like a lot, like 2 minutes worth of an answer, and it kind of dipped and dived. So you could, I think there's a little bit. You could tell there's a little frustration in what they feel was a good process move that totally backfired, and then you got to answer for it. Look, they're saying the same things. They're saying things about this is the team that can fight back and win 2 in a row. And no doubt, Grant, I think level-headed you level-headed fans, level-headed me would say that's not. I'm never level-headed. Let's be honest. Would say that this is the team that we saw over 162. They absolutely can win 2 games against the Mets. Absolutely. But it's like me in my personal life as a dad of a toddler. Oh, you're gonna pick up your toys, honey? I'll believe it when I see it.
Sure. God. Well, thank you for the time, Kurt. I know you got work to do. You got a column, a story to file. We will look forward to that at the Journal Sentinel.
Time to go right. Yay, fun.
Thank you for bringing us behind the curtain. Don't sound so excited. We love your writing. Go get after it.
I mean, I'll write whatever I need to and whatever the game goes, but that one's not a fun story, Grant. Not a fun story.
Thank you, Kurt. Have a good night.
Yeah, always.
Kurt, not cheering for any team, as any good journalist would or wouldn't, cheering for a good story. It's not a good story. In fact, it's not even a new story. It's the same story as last year. So thank you to everyone who hopped on. I said I'd go until 8. That was perfect. I didn't think we'd go long enough. I asked Kurt yesterday. I was like, hey, if we were to do a live show, could you maybe jump on? He's like, yes. And I actually, given the circumstances, he's working. He actually sent me a message. It's like, hey, I got 5 minutes. So like, awesome. Perfect. We'll pick this up tomorrow at 4 on the Wisco Sports Show, or for any true degenerates, I will be on with Bill starting at 10 tomorrow. I'll be on with Ebo around 9:30, and we'll probably get into this hot and heavy, and then 10 to 2 on Bill's show, and then 4 to 6 tomorrow night on the Wisco Sports Show. Thank you to Kurt. Read his story at the Journal Sentinel, subscribe, or buy a hard copy tomorrow. I might have to get a hard copy. Tomorrow feels like a hard copy day. Follow me on Twitter if you don't already, at Wisco Grant. The show will be